Welcome to a brand new program here on EuroSport, the racing line, as we look at the World Rally Championship. In the first part, we'll be looking at Colin McRae's move to the Ford team and the brand new Ford Focus World Rally car. There are new drivers at Subaru: Richard Burns, Juha Kankkunen and Bruno Thierry, part of that team, and new entries on the World Rally Championship from Skoda, Peugeot and Hyundai. In the second part of the program, we'll be taking a look at new regulations and a presentation of each of the 1999 events. 14 events from Monte Carlo in January until Great Britain in November. In part 3 of the program, we'll be looking at a presentation of the top teams who've been testing already throughout the winter in France, in Finland and Sweden. We'll look at Mitsubishi, Toyota and the Subaru team. And we'll also check in with the latest from Ford with Colin McRae, Thomas Radstrom and Simon Jean-Joseph. Part 4 of the program, and a presentation of the top teams. In the second part, we'll be looking at some of the newcomers such as Seat, Skoda, Peugeot and Hyundai. The last part of the program, an interview with Tommi Mäkinen and a preview of the Monte Carlo Rally. We'll be bringing full coverage of the Monte Carlo here on EuroSport. We'll be telling you when and where. We start the racing line this week with a look at the favourites for the 1999 title. The same drivers as in 1998, but with some important changes amongst them. Tommi Mäkinen staying at Mitsubishi, Carlos Sainz at Toyota, Juha Kankkunen here from Ford to Subaru, and Didier Auriol staying with Toyota for the season. Richard Burns has moved, he's gone from Mitsubishi to Subaru, and Colin McRae has moved from Subaru to Ford. One of the big stories at the end of last year, of course, was Colin McRae's move from Subaru to Ford for a record amount in World Rallying. More than £6 million 2-year contract. Pretty mega deal for Colin McRae and for his co-driver, Nicky Grist. 8 years he was with Subaru, now he will be in the new Ford Focus.
I think it's the more money that's involved in something, the more interest it causes for everyone else. So, you know, rallying for me is as professional and as in F1. F1, they have big money there with certain drivers. There's no reason why we shouldn't have the same kind of money in rally.
Colin McRae became British champion with Ford in 1990, but he became a World Rally star with Subaru from 1991, and then the world title in 1995. Ford is only the second manufacturer for whom Colin has driven.
It's been a very important time for me. I was with Subaru for 8 years, and we had lots of very good results together. With the manufacturer 3 times and the driver title 1 time, so I have a lot of good memories, and it's a team that I grew from nothing to World Championship with, so it's a very nice memories from Subaru.
Testing the Ford Focus in the south of France prior to the Monte Carlo. Before these tests, they also did some running in Sweden in December of 1998 and in Norway as well, to try and get some snow testing for this car before the start of the year. Colin McRae was the first to test the car, in fact, for 3 days near the town of Rudberg, north of Oslo. Colin's team's mates Thomas Radstrom and Simon Jean-Joseph did some testing too, and for more than 600 kilometers the new Ford Focus had no incident despite temperatures of minus 20 degrees Celsius. During the 2 other test sessions in the south of France later on in December and January, Colin McRae and the Ford World Rally team added more experience in terms of running the Focus in preparation for the first event, the Monte Carlo, starting on January the 17th. The Ford Focus is a new generation World Rally car. It has easily the longest wheelbase of all the World Championship cars, yet the overall size of the Seat and little more than the Toyota Corolla, making the Focus quite the best packaged car in the sport. The car is also bigger internally than the Escort, which gives opportunities to move things around, such as the fuel tank and spare wheels, to get the optimum weight balance. And the balance of the car is also aided by having an engine set further back in the chassis than the other transverse engined cars in the sport. But the Ford World Rally team had to design and build the car in a very short time span under the direction of the project manager Günther Steiner. Malcolm Wilson, director of the Ford Rally team and highly accomplished rally driver in his own right, was first to drive the new Focus at the team's Millbrook development base on the 22nd of October. The engine is a 2-litre Zetec E turbocharged motor with longitudinal 6-speed sequential gearbox. And the Focus is 4-wheel drive with 3 active differentials. It was unveiled at EuroSports International in Birmingham. And Colin McRae explained that the first test was good, but not sure what to expect for the rest of the year.
The car seems to be quite reliable, which in itself is a great achievement considering the time that we've had. The position is very hard to predict. I mean, we don't know what the performance is going to be like compared to everyone else. A completely new car and racing against cars that are obviously developed again from last year is very, very...
Roly-poly out of the rally for Tommy Mäkinen. He hasn't won the Monte Carlo yet, and that is one of his main objectives. Freddie Loix with the Mitsubishi, the new driver to the team, along with his co-driver Sven Smeets. Freddie Loix, 28-year-old Belgian, competed in his first World Rally Championship event in 1993 and has competed in 23 since then, with the best a second-place finish.
My first impression, it's a very easy car, a very good car on the gravel, and for the rest I'm still working a little bit for myself. You know, there are some changes, some difference on the car between the two cars, and it's up to me now to learn it and to find a good confiance in the car.
So Freddie Loix has a lot to learn this year with the car and alongside Tommy Mäkinen, but he's certainly going to have an opportunity to learn from the best.
We've been watching Freddie for a year or two, of course, and there is no question about it. He's the best of the young drivers that are around just now. He's got quite a lot of experience, and between now and Monte Carlo, we hope that he'll get a lot more in our car, and of course with Tommy, the way he's performing, I think it'll be a very strong team.
Mäkinen testing the new Lancer Evolution 6. And remember that Mitsubishi still is a Group A car as opposed to a World Rally car, the later spec. It's still a four-door machine. What does Tommy think of the new Evolution?
Basic car is the same as Evolution 5. We have, of course, all the time we are working and we try to improve it, and some little things here and there. And biggest what you can notice, you can see that there's just new bumpers and spoilers made in wind tunnel and just some things for aerodynamic.
So Tommy Mäkinen seeing not many changes on the Mitsubishi, but it doesn't need many changes. It won every rally from the end of August last year to the end of the season. So what have Toyota got in their armoury? Well, they've got the same drivers as they had last year. Carlos Sainz with his co-driver Luis Moya and Didier Auriol with Denis Giraudet. So a very strong driver lineup for Toyota, and it's the second full season with the Corolla. They really had some tremendous results last year when you consider it was the first full year with the Toyota Corolla. And you have to say, after that year's experience and with this man behind the wheel, Carlos Sainz, they have a really tremendous prospect for 1999. Look how close they came to winning the championship on the Rally of Great Britain until this unbelievable happening. Carlos saying the Rally of Great Britain is in the past now. It was a very unlucky moment, but it's now a story in the past. In life we have to turn the page to think to the future, as I've said before. But I'm okay, I have no problem. Carlos Sainz actually won the Monte Carlo last year, so he started his season in tremendous style with the Corolla. And it is a rally that he thoroughly enjoys. So perhaps he can start the season to much the same effect in 1999. If it's snowing, the Rally of Monte Carlo is the most difficult rally out there. It's a tactical rally, mentally difficult. Very difficult if it's snowing. If there isn't snow, then it's a tarmac rally without anything particularly special, but it is the most important of the year because everybody wants to win the Monte Carlo. The Monte Carlo rally is the most well-known of the season. Carlos Sainz joined in Toyota team again by Didier Auriol, the Frenchman, back with the team for another year. Had a difficult season last year, an up and down season, with one victory on the way. Carlos and I, we're both fast on every kind of surface, and that's an advantage. We have great experience as well. We have a strong team this year. If we lost the 2 world titles last year, that was only due to bad luck. I think next season, Toyota has a little bit of an advantage. The car is better and better. I have a really good feeling, and everybody knows that for me, the feeling of the car is very important. Targets, well, we have to just see what the targets are rally after rally. First of all, try to win the Monte Carlo, then the Swedish, so-and-so, and try to be in Great Britain to challenge for the title. Well, Didier led some 7 rallies throughout last year, won one of them, and was champion last time back in 1994. We move on to Subaru now, who've also been doing plenty of testing in the winter. Their driver lineup slightly different. Richard Burns and Robert Reid have moved across from Mitsubishi. Bruno Thierry and Stefan Prevost and Juha Kankkunen and Juha Repo have all moved from Ford. So Juha Kankkunen, the 4 times World Rally champion, last crowned in 1993. He'll be 40 years old in April, and he's had 21 World Rally Championship wins in his career. Carlos Sainz is just 1 ahead of him at 22. His extensive experience will be useful to the Subaru team as they make up for Colin McRae having moved across to Ford. And last year, Juha Kankkunen had a very strong result on the Monte when he finished in 2nd.
Monte Carlo is always, it's a good rally. It's depends how the weather is, you know, going to be. But if it's like last year, a little bit snow and things like that, I think it will be okay.
And Richard Burns comes back to ProDrive to drive the Subaru Impreza. Winner of the last rally of last year, so that's got to give you confidence during the short winter break. It is a very short off-season in the World Rally Championship, and he'll be joined once again by Robert Reid in the co-driver's seat. But what about the car? Is it different?
At the moment, I suppose the main thing for me is going back to the old type gearbox, but from Portugal Rally onwards, then we'll have the new gearbox in the Subaru. But at the moment, then that for me is a little step backwards.
Well, we can see on-board pictures with Richard there, and you can see it's a standard H-pattern gearbox as opposed to a sequential shift. So Richard just having to readapt to a standard gearbox in testing.
Long stages is fine. It means I guess it's easier to sort of follow the pattern of the rally. Things will happen a lot more quickly, I think, and especially like you say, the first stage at nearly 50 kilometers, that's going to be very big, and everybody has to be awake very early.
Bruno Thierry is the 3rd member of the team. This very strong driver lineup for Subaru in '99, and Bruno Thierry's also been a major part of the winter tests.
C'est clair qu'ici, il y a déjà beaucoup d'évolution par rapport à la saison dernière.
He says there's already been a great deal of development if you compare it with the 1998 Subaru. The evolution has changed, the gearbox, the engine is more powerful. There are lots of changes. So they'll be looking forward to the start of the season. We'll have more after the break. Teams continues now with the car that we'll be seeing a lot more of this year, but it's an unfamiliar shape at the moment. The Ford Focus in action. Colin McRae and Nicky Grist, of course, are the most famous signings, if you like, for the team. Simon Jean-Joseph has come from the French Rally Championship. He's joined by experienced co-driver Fred Gallagher. And Thomas Radstrom will also be co-driven by Fred Gallagher. Thomas Radstrom and Simon Jean-Joseph sharing the second car. McRae is the one who's been entrusted with the majority of the development, though, of course, with his experience, getting to grips with the focus and working with Malcolm Wilson, who runs the team. What does he think about the long special stages in Monte Carlo?
I think for the rally in general, the route looks very good this year. For us to have long stages in the beginning is maybe not such a good idea, because you know, with a new car you can have trouble. If you have trouble in a long stage, you lose more time. But in general, for the rally and for the championship, they have made a lot of changes, and the organisers are working very well with the team. So I think the rally this year will be a lot better.
Joining Colin McRae and the team is Simon Jean-Joseph from Martinique. He put in a very competitive performance in the French Rally Championship last year. Came very close to winning it. In fact, was just beaten by Philippe Bugalski in the work Citroën towards the end of the year. This was Simon Jean-Joseph competing in his Subaru in that French Championship. But it was as a result of a test that he did halfway through last year that convinced Malcolm Wilson to sign him up.
Je pense que ma saison était déterminante par rapport à ce que j'ai.
My good results in France have
World Rally Championship, but unfortunately for some, it was to be a very depressing first stage. As you can see, rain at the start, and higher up in the mountains starting to melt the snow. Well, Tommi Mäkinen, quickest through the first stage by 35 seconds, a thundering advantage and a really great way to lay down a marker on the first stage of a new season. But despite his impressive speed, Mäkinen was not free from dramas on this stage, and for the strangest of reasons, some very weird little stories cropping up in this first competitive day of the Monte Carlo Rally. Let's hear now how it all went from Tommi Mäkinen.
Some little problems. We had some yesterday evening. We had a little accident when we from the time control to the last service point, because it was so many people everywhere, and they just slowly move away in front from the front of car. And I hit I couldn't see. I just went slowly forward, and all the people move away, and suddenly car just stopped like that. I was wondering, what the hell was that? I hit the gate, and this right front corner quite badly, and we damaged brake cooler. And they changed it, and now there is some problem with the brake cooling system, and we lose quite a lot of brakes on the first stage. That was the main problem.
Whereabouts in the stage did you feel that the brakes had gone?
Yeah, on the tarmac, on the last 20 kilometers.
Not too much time lost compared with the others?
No, okay, of course I lose something for that, but I was already over 1 minute ahead of others in midpoint.
So an impressive first stage for Tommi Mäkinen, but disasters for Carlos Sainz. And off on the very first corner, wrinkled the front of the Toyota. And as you can see from this amateur video, the bonnet of the car was so far up in Carlos's way that he completely lost visibility, lost control of the car, slams off the road into this telegraph pole and out of the event.
Yeah, but RAC has made me very strong, so this is not important. And the 3 times we won this rally, we lost it in the RAC. So that means that probably we win the championship this year.
Very upbeat Luis Moya. Carlos Sainz out of the event on the first stage, and problems too for Didier Auriol. Damage to the front left of his car. Mechanics working hard to replace that and to try and keep the second and only remaining Toyota in the event. He went off and is suffering from flu. Not a good start to his event either. Of course, he says, plenty of snow and black ice everywhere as well, he said. And sometimes you just hit sheets of ice on the road. There's obviously no way of telling, and it becomes very slippery. But he said, you still have to drive as hard as you can. So a lot of people have been off and have had problems on the ice, so everybody's making mistakes. Well, Didier Auriol, in fact, went off shortly after Richard Burns, who had been catching him on the stage.
what exactly happened. It was 5-10 meters before a very small bridge, and the car went a little bit sideways before we went on the bridge, and so we hit the bridge and it was over.
In fact, hitting the bridge ripped the front off the car and spun him round. Freddie Loix was out, so it was down to one Toyota and one Mitsubishi. What about the Subaru crew? Richard Burns, in his first drive for Subaru, had made up the 2-minute start time on Didier Auriol on that first stage. Auriol had him in the mirrors and was planning to find a place to let him by when suddenly Burns disappeared. The lanky redhead had gone off the road and lost nearly 5 minutes. What about the man whose place he's taken, Colin McRae? He had dramas in stage 1 as well. The car stopped and he lost nearly 3 minutes with a plug problem, but it also caught fire. Let's hear from him now.
Well, for us, we had a problem with the engine. It blew all the plug leads out, so the car just stopped. And then we had a fire in the back as well. So we lost. I mean, we lost a good 3 minutes. So it would have been a very good time. We would have been very close to Tommy, which would have been a great start. But we can't help these problems.
Well, further problems later in the day. Incidentally, the fire was just the paint on the floor burning off. The exhaust temperatures had melted on the inside of the car. It wasn't anything major. Problems later on in the day, broken windscreen when he hit a spectator's hand. This is Simon Jean-Joseph, runner-up by 0.8 seconds in the French Rally Championship. The 29-year-old from Martinique, the second works escort. Stage 1 was the longest he'd ever driven the car. There you saw the damage to Colin's car. There you see the incident. Let's hear from the man.
Problem with the windscreen, what exactly happened there?
It was a spectator that was hanging out over a hairpin. So they just need to keep further back. It's the same as normal in Monte Carlo.
Did you just catch your foot?
No, it was somebody's hand, I think. I don't know.
Well, whatever it was, you saw the damage to the windscreen, and undoubtedly somebody nursing a very sore body components. But Colin McRae continues. What about the Formula 2 cars? Doing a great job. Tony Gardemeister, a victim of Nissan's plug pulling on its rally efforts just a month ago out in the Seat Ibiza. 8th fastest on stage 1. And Philippe Bogalski, the man who beat Simon Jean-Joseph to the French rally title for Citroën in the Citroën Saxo kit car. 12th overall on stage 1. They must be blindingly fast downhill is all I can say. Leader after 3 then, Tommy Mäkinen in the Mitsubishi. Fastest on stage 1 despite that brake problems. 0.6 slower than the others on stage 2. And 4th fastest on stage 3, 33 seconds behind the fastest man, who was Gilles Panizzi. Stage 3 was slush a go-go, and all the top seeds served only to clear the road a little. This is Gilles Panizzi. This is the man who is challenging for the overall lead. In an all-stars Subaru, effectively works machinery run by a satellite Mitsubishi team. Second quickest on stage 1, 6th on stage 2, fastest on stage 3. Gilles Panizzi setting the crowds alight here. So I've got a great feeling with this car, I really like it. Very surprised to see how well we're doing, I have to say, but obviously very satisfied with that. Said, I'm not going to look at the rankings too much, he said, I'm just going to continue driving the way we are, hope it works well. Well, it has done so far. Let's look now at Seat Cordoba, 3rd after stage 3, Piero Liati, great result. Let's hear from him now. He said, car's giving me great feeling. I'm not 100% yet, though, in confidence with the car. He said it's very different from the cars I've driven over the last few years, but as soon as I really get more of a feel for the car, he said, I'm sure the results will come. Well, this is Bruno Thierry, the Subaru Impreza driver, lying 4th after 3 stages, 1 minute and 28 behind the others, behind the leader rather, and just 7 seconds away from 3rd place Piero Liati. Juha Kankinen in the number 6 Subaru Impreza, 2nd of the works cars, 5th after 3 stages, 4th on stage 1, 3rd on stage 2, 11th on stage 3. There's the classification then, midway through the first competitive day. Francois Delacour, another former winner of this event, in 6th position in a Ford Escort. Like Gilles Panizzi, his drive paid for by his employers Peugeot to keep him in rally fitness until the 206 is ready in May. So Mäkinen leading by 45 seconds from Panizzi halfway through the first day. Join us for the outcome after the break. Well, welcome back to Eurosport's coverage of the first competitive stages of the 1998 Monte Carlo Rally. Eighth at the end of the day, Didier Auriol, the 1990 winner in Lancia, 92 winner in a Lancia, the 93 winner in a Toyota, back with Toyota once more. And on stage 4, second quickest, as he was on stage 5, both times to Colin McRae in the Escort, but right on the limit of his tyres, he says. Francois Delacour finishes the day 7th, the 1994 winner in an Escort Cosworth 4x4, now in an Escort Cosworth WRC and chasing hard. Colin McRae, first day in real action in the Ford Focus WRC, 7th on the day, 1 minute and 54 behind the leaders, fastest on stages 4 and 5, and Malcolm Wilson looked like he'd won the event then.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm quite relieved, actually. I mean, okay, it's been a pretty fraught 3-4 weeks, and especially the build-up to the rally and actually getting started. But now that the rally's underway, the first couple of stages didn't go too well for us. We had a couple of problems, but all I can say is there's a lot of happy people in our car and all the vehicles, I think, in M Sport after the third stage. I think Colin's performance there and obviously the performance of the car we're absolutely delighted with, to be less than a second behind Tommy and just under 2 seconds behind Didier. And those are the first 3 cars on the road, which just gives you a good indication, and the road conditions are consistent.
Well, what about Bruno Thierry, 5th overall, despite a small problem on stage 4 here. And that was nice and early. That's the famous piff-paff section. Not too much snow in evidence here, but everybody complaining that there was a lot of snow kicked onto the stages by the spectators, among whom, incidentally, was Finland's Keke Rosberg, cheering on fellow Finns Kankkunen and Mäkinen, but absolutely not, and I must stress this, throwing any snow in the way of any French drivers at all. What a shame the same couldn't be said for the French crowd and foreign drivers' cars.
Tommy, you seem to get some advantage on those last 2 stages up the Col de Turini. Are you feeling a lot happier now? You've got a bit more of a buffer over Gilles?
Yes, of course it's much easier. It was my plan to try to do as well as possible and try to make some more time, try to make it easier for tomorrow, and it works.
Panizzi went for a tyre with some little cuts in it. Do you think that you had the correct tyre choice without the cuts in it?
Yeah, I think it was, but I think it doesn't change so much. First, Turini, I think with the little cut, I think the tyre was much better than our tyre for first one.
You're a lot more confident for tomorrow, maybe get the win?
Yes, I feel very confident at the moment. It's no questions. Car works well, and now we are coming to last service, which is long one, and they can change everything, all the parts, and they can make car like brand new again, and well, no worries.
Do you plan to change some major parts? Which parts might you change?
I don't know what they have planned. Engineers, maybe they change all transmission and all the suspension parts and things like that.
Well, chance for a ground-up rebuild. Overall classification after leg 3. Then Tommy Mäkinen, the overnight leader. Gilles Panizzi in 2nd place. Juha Kankkunen looking strong in 3rd. Colin McRae 4th. He's now set 3 fastest stage times, same as Mäkinen. 5th is Francois Delacour. 6th is Bruno Thierry. Pierre Liati, having to do the final stage on just a handbrake, has dropped down into the lower orders of the top 10. A disappointment for him and the Seat team. Well, this is what you missed yesterday. These are moments from stage 1, starting off with Tommy Mäkinen just about avoiding going off in this first stage, and when you see the conditions, you can imagine why a lot of drivers had trouble. Mr. Manassa-Maki in the right-hand seat, Tommy in the left. This is on board with Carlos Sainz and Luis Moya, the Toyota Corolla, going off the road here on sheet ice at the first corner. And look what's down there. Several other cars which have gone off. Whether they are spectators' cars, course cars, or ice note cars, I'm afraid I can't tell you, but that's what caused the damage there. Mind you, it did keep him out of the hole. But here we go for the second time. You can see how difficult it is to see from the driver's eye line here. Sliding down the hill, and a big thump with the telegraph pole, and that is that. Luis Moya out of the car.
We started the stage thinking that it was much less ice. We went with the rain tire, and it was a lot of ice and very, very slippery, so we slipped off the road. Then we could manage to come back, but later on the bonnet of the car I couldn't see at all, and in another place with ice I went definitely off, but completely. I think since the gravel crew pass until we pass, it must have changed a little bit, because we have completely wrong information.
On board with Didier Auriol in the left-hand seat and Denis Girodet on the right-hand seat. Oh dear. Well, he called Verglas, that's ice, but he did admit that he called it too late. Denis said he called the notes for the corner, and then he said, oh no, it's too late. We went straight off. Little discussion in the car, but no damage done either physically or metaphorically to the driving pairing. Here's Richard Burns in the Subaru Impreza, bearing the scars of battle. Don't forget, this all still on the first stage of the Monte.
40.
Richard Burns and Robert Reed.
50.
And really inching his way along here, despite four-wheel drive. This is compacted snow and sheet ice. And of course, it's deep snow off the road and very hard to get back on.
Come on!
Impatient as ever. Freddie Loix in the Mitsubishi Charisma. Another of the unlucky drivers retiring on the first stage of day one. Notice he's facing the wrong way here. He clipped the bridge and it spun the car around, damaged it as well. Somebody else even further down the hillside, and then it really starts to cut a swathe through the lower numbers this first stage. Anybody who got out of there did a very good job indeed. Awful lot of experienced drivers finding conditions just treacherous. And that really is the key to it all. The Ice Notes cruise and how the weather changes. Meanwhile, damage for Tommi Mäkinen yesterday, stopping between stages 4 and 5. He knows he's got a damaged brake disc. He can feel a problem with the car, and he's going to jack the car up, work on the right rear wheel. Well, Risto getting the wheel brace into action. Tommy's just about to get the car up and having a look at the back of the car. This, of course, is on a road section, so time ticking away, but they do have time. Tommy's trying to find what the problem is. And then a very helpful Italian spectator says, "Oi, mate, there's no brake on this end, is that right?" Well, back on goes the rear wheel, and sure enough, the brake rotor, that's the darker part there, completely sheared from the main hub, the red alloy part in the centre there. Really unusual breakage. But that was the problem right front. So in the end, Tommy and Risto took the brake disc off, threw it away, and then clamped the line to the caliper. There's the monster 6-pot caliper there. Clamped that brake line so the Alcon caliper doesn't get any brake fluid when he hits the pedal. He's only got 3-wheel brakes, but if you don't clamp the line, you don't have any brakes at all. So trying to short-circuit it. Here's Juha Kankinen coming to have a bit of a look and to pass on the advantage of his experience. He said, "I'll tell you what, mate, you can't get the parts for these." Well, Tommi Mäkinen finished 4th in that stage, 2nd overall at the end of day one behind Panizzi. But don't forget, that wasn't a bad job with 3-wheel braking. Mind you, Piero Leati, as I said today, did stage 9 with almost no brakes and stage 10 on just the handbrake. Well, this is the map for stage 4, for leg 4. 4 stages. Tonight's final 2 stages repeated twice each. Colin McRae 14 seconds quicker through the final stage tonight, and he's got 2 more goes at that tomorrow. What will that do to the positions overall? Well, thanks to everybody, incidentally, for noticing last night's deliberate mistake. I was referring to the 1998 World Rally Championship a couple of times, but did you notice tonight's error? send us a line and keep in touch with the rally on www.eurosport.com. Until tomorrow, the final stages of the Monte Carlo rally, from myself and Toby Moody in the trenches, it's goodbye. Good evening, welcome to the final evening of EuroSport's coverage of round 1 of 14 of the 1999 World Rally Championship. I'm Martin Haven. This is the most famous rally in the world, the Monte Carlo. Well, you mentioned the Monte Carlo rally, and of course it's the snow and the mountains that take everybody's imagination. Hasn't been too much snow, but there's been plenty of mountain climbing and descending here. These are images from yesterday evening, the first runs over the famous, infamous Col de Turini, and this was the man who was fastest at the end of the second day. Tommi Mäkinen, the reigning world champion, staying with World Championship Team Mitsubishi, number 1. Gilles Panizzi, he was the pretender. The Monday night